Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing another Adam the Beginning arc review. Today we're looking at arc number 7 or maybe number 8. I can't remember the numbering that I used last time. Last time that I recorded like a set of videos for this, right? Not last video, because I did that like 10 minutes ago. Arc number 7, maybe number 8. It's chapters 37 through 45, which means it goes through the vast majority of this chapter, of this volume 8. And through most of this this volume number 9. And I'm calling this the Chasing the Robot Boy arc because I can't really come up with a better name. I guess you could call it like Going to Vietnam arc maybe, but that's not really what the story is about. It's about chasing this robot boy down, right? His location, right? So that's what I'll go with. The authors here are Masami Yuki, and the artist is Tetsura Kazuhara, and of course it's done in collaboration with Tezuka Productions, with Tezuka's grandson, and with Osamu Tezuka's story ideas at the center, right? This is published by Panini, at least the edition that I have, by Panini Manga Mexico, and is available in English via Titan Manga. I think they're on volume 7 right now, but don't quote me on that. I think that's the volume they're on. I'm not really sure. I don't really like buying manga from Titan. I think that they're not very good at the way they print. Their books are very small for quite a big cost, in my opinion. And so I, prefer to buy from other publishers. And it just happens that by the time that Titan got the licensing for Adam the Beginning, I'd already collected basically everything that was out for it, or most of what was out for it in Mexico at the time, right? So it's still an ongoing series, but I think they've been stuck for a while on volume 17, but another one will come out eventually. Demographic wise, this is an adult series. It's a seinen. The genre here is basically just sci-fi. You can really say that there's elements of like school life, I guess, in like a university sense, but that's not really the point of this. This is more of a sci-fi story that occasionally features action-adventure type kind of things, right? And it does not have an adaptation, or well, it does, but the adaptation only covers the first 3 volumes of the manga, which is basically the first 2 or 3 arcs of the story. And so it doesn't really cover everything. And I don't think that it will ever do so. I think that they just created the first series to create interest in the story, and from there it seems to have gone pretty well because the manga is selling pretty nicely, right? So yeah, the rating here is a 5 out of 5, and the premise here is basically that with the introduction of Uchinimizu's grandpa, the boys now have a kind of a character that they're searching for, which is the robot boy, because he might have the information necessary for them to advance the Buwenstein system beyond its current capabilities. And so they want to find him, want to help Uchinimizu's grandfather, but also to see if they can get more out of him, if they can learn about his abilities, to see if they can get inspired to create their own version of them, right? And so off they go to Vietnam. And that's where the story starts here. So the plot line opens up in a very clear, like, this is a new story, by having Adam turn on. A106 is turned on. It turns out that Uchinimizu, Umotaro, Adam, and Gramps are all now at Ho Chi Minh City, which is in Vietnam. This is, I guess it would be called Saigon back in the day. At least that's what I think. I'm not really sure, but Ho Chi Minh City is basically just the main capital of Vietnam, right? Uran apparently stayed behind with Ran because she didn't want to go on a trip. Gramps decides to share some intel with the boys at this point. He tells them about the robot boy. He says that they're here to meet this hacker called Pink, who is very, very good at her job, and she has very important information to share with him. And so this is where we get introduced to Pink, who happens to be this random Vietnamese girl who's a bit of a lush, which means that she's very drunk all the time. She steals an auto van by hacking into it, because the autos in this, the auto vans in this world are all machine operated, right? They're all self-driving. And then the boys find her, bring her to a hotel, let her sleep off her drunkenness, and then they get around to getting her to give them information. At some point, they also decide that they want to build a 108, the next iteration of their Buwenstein robots, but they have to wait to do that. But they do want to get started on it, right? And I'm not really sure what's going to happen here because Adam A106 and Uran A107 are already basically what they want. They just don't look like humans yet, right? We get introduced to two detectives that go off and do something different because they're chasing down Pink to figure out why she's hacking and doing stuff that she's not supposed to. And separately, back at the hotel, while Pink is sleeping off her drunkenness, the boys interact with each other, they're chatting, and Shimizu tells Umataro about this Tom Conwa thing. And Umataro, being a genius, apparently can connect dots that don't exist. And so he tells them that that actually refers to Bentonamu Meron Gawa, which is a place here in Vietnam. And it's basically a special sort of like river, I guess. And Pink awakes. She heads to the boys. She tells them something, and then they go all with her to go to this village by the Mekong, which is a river. And then we get this kind of interlude chapter where we get to see Tom, the cat, Tom 14, the cat, having a little bit of a misadventure where he's fighting a bunch of other cats and dogs in the junkyard, and Uran stops to help him. She helps him get rid of all of the other ones, and it's pretty funny. I actually really enjoyed this chapter. I thought it was really cute. It was really enjoyable, but it's kind of weird placement-wise. Like, it doesn't really make too much sense here to put it in between there, but it is what it is. Broadly speaking, it's enjoyable, right? Anyway, we come back to Vietnam. We get to see that we get introduced to the Tam Infirmary, which is run by Pink's older sister, and it gets attacked by these thugs that are hired by the hospital manager. The guy in charge of the hospital doesn't want anyone to offer free medical services to anyone in the area because he loses customers that way. And so the Tam Infirmary is constantly under attack because they don't buckle under his pressure. They continue to serve people freely in order to help them, right? And the boys are there with Tam. The men rush in. There's a bit of an accident, and there's some surgery time because the accident was that one of the, I guess there were miners or something nearby, had something happen to his arm. And so there needs to be immediate surgery. And when the surgery starts, we get introduced to this character called Dylan, who is a robot. And it's actually this robot here. He's a special sort of medical robot made out of parts from the different police robots that exist in Ho Chi Minh City. And so he saves a man, but there is a very slight hiccup where he has an issue. And we get to see Umataro say something important, which is that a robot who can't self-update is useless. And what Umataro means in this case is that based on his philosophy of creation, right, like the idea that they want to create, the Buwenstein system should make robots that self-update. Robots that can develop their own abilities beyond their initial capabilities the same way humans can, because that's ultimately their goal, right? They want to create proper, sentient, individual robots. And I feel like this affects A106 a bit negatively, but he's proven that he can self-update, at least his programming. And so I'm not sure that he should be affected, but I can't really remember because I've read this like a month and a half ago, right? So we'll see. We get to go back to see what's happening at home. It turns out that Uran has made some really pretty, beautiful legs. They're really big, but they're not for her. They take him over to Lab 1 and apologize to the lab mates and then to the 3 robots that Uran previously destroyed. She attaches these legs to Ada, who is one of the main robots that are still kind of alive, but she's missing legs. And then Ada forgives Uran, and they move on. And it turns out that Lab 1 now believes that Lab 7 is full of geniuses because they created these individualistic robots that even have remorse, right? And have this ability in them. And it's really, really cool. In Vietnam, we get to see that Adam sends his ego in Dian or whatever you want to call him. And he asks the boys to hook him up to Dion so they can have direct contact, because Dion doesn't have abilities to interact with other robots. He can only have sensory input. He doesn't have like he can only understand auditory input and visual input. He doesn't have like actual like communication systems installed, and so they have to be directly hooked up via a computer. And when they get hooked up, they both go into shutdown mode. The detectives show up at this point to kind of see what's going on, and it turns out that Pink got the attention of these detectives in order for them to come to the TAM infirmary, so that the infirmary now has protections in the form of these policemen or these detectives trying to figure out what's going on with Pink. And so now they come by the infirmary every once in a while, and so now there's a certain level of protection associated with them because policemen constantly patrol this area, right? And there's a really interesting way of solving their issue with the hired thugs from the hospital without having to resort to actually requesting help from the police and making like an issue out of it, right? Because it turns out that the hospital manager is friends with the people in charge of this region of Ho Chi Minh City, right? And so if they went to the police directly, there would be issues with that. Like they would immediately get removed from basically being watched or being taken care of. And I think it was pretty cool. Let's see. As they're doing this, the hospital director shows up with his goons, and they have a bit of a standoff. Then Hiroshi gets shot, or Ichimizu gets shot. Detectives are outraged, and then they have a fight with the hospital guy, with the director of the hospital. Dion wakes up immediately in order to do an operation on Hiroshi, on Ichimizu. It's a very tense surgery, and the bullets are retrieved, but Hiroshi, or Ichimizu, happens to be brain dead. They attempt to do a resuscitation. It's not really working, when suddenly it looks like Adam, or A106, awakes, sort of. We get a flashback to Hiroshi's youth. We get to see a young Ran, a little girl who happens to be Hiroshi's new sister. He's very happy about that. We get to see that there happens a funeral, which I think is Hiroshi's mother's death, or the death of Umataro's family. We get to see that Hiroshi and Umataro met as children, and they had a really weird interaction, but it was pretty funny. It was cute. We get to see that Hiroshi falls, wakes up naked, sees everything, and has an out-of-body experience. And it's because he's inside A106. He is existing in A106's computer. Then Adam brings him back. He puts him back into his body. He wakes. He's saved by the connection between Dion and A106 and the Buwenstein system. So the way that this worked is, because Dion was directly operating on Hiroshi, and because he was also directly connected to Adam, Dion could transfer Hiroshi's consciousness through himself into Adam, fix Hiroshi's body, and then return his consciousness into his body. And it's a bit sus, but it works, right? This is all thanks to the abilities given to them by the Buwenstein and the self-updating nature of the Buwenstein system once it connects with Dion, right? And then Umataro asks him, what's it like being inside Adam? Like, what does it feel like? And Hiroshi says that it's lonely. A106 says he's not alone, but he is the only of his kind, because even Uran is different from him, right? It's like saying, like for us, it might be saying that they're both robots, they're the same. But the thing is that there's no one like A106. There's no one that is built like him, that has the same capabilities as him, or the same average capabilities as him. And no one that can communicate with him the same way that he wants. Like every time that he communicates with a different robot, it has to be with different channels in different ways, because no one is built just like him. And so he's lonely, he's alone. And Umutaro is really happy that his friend is alive. Then we get a final introduction here before the chapter ends, or before the arc ends, to Brenner and North, who have managed to make it to Vietnam, and this is the ending of this arc. And it's broadly speaking really good. I thought it was really tense and really enjoyable, and I had a lot of fun with the idea of the boys going down to Vietnam to visit the city. I also had a lot of fun with Pink and Tam. I think that those characters are great. And I really love the ultimate, like, kind of like existential elements that are presented here at the end with the transfer of consciousness and the feeling of like life out of your body, right? Like, I thought that was really, really cool stuff. It also goes a little bit into like the woo element, right? Like, if this was like this is the point in science, right? In science fiction, where the science gets so nebulous that it starts to become fantasy, right? And that's a line that I think a lot of sci-fi wants to constantly skirt, but always manages to cross in a way that maybe they shouldn't. But I think it all kind of works out in this story. It works out a bit better than it usually does, in my opinion, and I liked it. So in terms of characters, we get Gramps, we get Pink, Tam, the detectives, who I don't know the names of. Hiroshi and Umataro have some of their experiences, explained to us. We learn that Hiroshi's sister Ran is only his half-sister. We learn that Hiroshi and Umataro met as children and then reconnected as adults later. And we get to know that A106 is immensely special and that Dion is a cool robot character, right? In terms of world building, there really isn't too much going on here. We know that Gramps, or Uchinimizu's grandfather, is technically the father of robotics with his nerve programming language. And it's really powerful and very important. And it's basically just a special version of C, right? Of C programming language. But for whatever reason, it works better and it's more important and it's really special. Very cool stuff. I enjoyed that. In terms of artwork and fan service, there is a lot of great artwork here, of course. There is some light fan service. We get to see some, cute girls in underwear and in like bikinis and stuff like that, but nothing too serious or nothing too out there. And ratings-wise, is a 5 out of 5. I think that the last bit of the story there really is what makes this arc really great for me. I really, really enjoyed that exploration of life and the comparison between life as a robot and life as a person. So I really enjoyed it overall. So yeah, those are my thoughts here on And in the Beginning, arc number 7, chasing the robot boy. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought down below. Thank you so much for watching and see you guys later.